the Onside Kick. Ricky Woodman here along with Dave Oster.
Happy birthday.
And Mark Weber.
Tom Brady.
And we're here like we are every week to bring you the best insight in sports. We got a full football podcast. We might throw a little Greg Oden in there if Mark wants to talk about it. But guys, we're going to start off college football. USA Today preseason poll is out. Alabama, number 1 overall in the top 5, ends up with Ohio State, Oregon, Stanford, and Georgia. Overall, what were your thoughts of the top 25?
I'm a bit concerned, or I should say confused, by the fact that they have Oregon rated so highly in this poll after losing their head coach, Chip Kelly.
Yeah, but I mean, the one thing I'm thinking, though, about it is what else did they lose besides their head coach and Kenyon Barner and Deion Jordan? That's it.
Those are some pretty key pieces right there.
Yeah, but you're keeping DeAnthony Thomas, who could run the ball or play wide receiver. You have Marcus Mariota. You're keeping your quarterback, which is always huge, and it's a systematic offense. It's kind of hard to f*** up.
You keep saying everything's a system. If everything was a system, everyone would use the system.
But they don't. It only works for Oregon.
And here's the thing, though, about Chip Kelly and the Oregon Ducks. We see it over in Philadelphia right now with the Eagles, where he got in and he completely revolutionized the way they practice.
And then they said, no, you can't.
Yeah, there's the things they can do, things they can't do. That's gone now in Oregon. Are people still going to buy into Chip Kelly's way of doing things when Chip Kelly's not there?
I would say, yeah, though, because their head coach was their offensive coordinator. So it's not like they brought in a guy that no one's comfortable with.
What I'm saying is that his way of doing things, the way of go to sleep at a good time, get your rest, eat this, don't eat that. Those type of things are gone now without Chip Kelly.
Yeah, the lifestyle around the game.
Yeah, those are little things that, it's not on the field, you don't see it, but those are the things that the coach had that's going to make a difference.
Well, there's going to be things that are different, but you got to think, this guy he was basically Chip Kelly's assistant coach, and he already knows the lifestyle that Chip Kelly had. Why not just keep that going?
Why would he? He's a different guy.
Because it's successful. If it's going to win you football games, go ahead and do it.
People just don't randomly follow other people because it may win football games. It's a good lifestyle. And it, obviously Chip Kelly likes it. But what if he doesn't, feel the same way? Maybe he wants to change up some things, how they were run. Maybe he doesn't really care if the players go to bed at a good hour or something like that.
Well, I'm saying things are going to change, but it's like I'm saying
the culture off the field is what I'm questioning.
The culture is going to be, it's not going to be the exact same, but it's not going to be that different because Oregon, I think, is going to come out. They have an easy schedule, so I mean, the only game I see them probably losing is Stanford again because they lost to Stanford last year. Maybe Tennessee. Okay, their schedule's not as easy as it was last year, but. Two-loss season this year, Tennessee and Stanford.
Gotta watch out for that UCLA, too.
You think UCLA is going to make a charge this year?
I'm just saying you got to watch out for them.
See,
you can't put over teams like Oregon State. They've got that rivalry.
Yeah,
you don't know what's going to happen in all these games.
The Pac-12, I feel like the Pac-12 for years and years to come is just going to be Stanford, Oregon, rinse, repeat.
There's not much over in the Pac-12, to be honest. I mean, I don't know if we want to get into the conversation of conferences and super conferences, but...
You mean the SEC versus everyone else?
Exactly, and everyone else is kind of dwarfed, and I have issues with a lot of things in college football, including the poll system. But, Ricky, he was defending the BCS rankings that aren't over until, week 8? Mm-hmm. But even then, I still have issues with their little computer algorithm deciding who gets to play who and who's better than who. But, I mean, I don't know. I just think Pac-12, not a good conference. They're barely ever a good conference nowadays. Oregon has such an easy potential. Yes, there are some trap games, and with the culture change, we could see players just kind of rebel against the system and things start breaking down. I don't know. Things could go wrong just by changing the culture. But their schedule... They should win most of these games. They should continue to be a good team this year. Following this year, I don't know because things are going to start to change a lot.
My biggest worry this year for Oregon is it has nothing to do with the offense because, I mean, the only big piece they lost was Kenyon Barner. But, I mean, when they lost LaMichael James, people were like, oh, what are they going to do? and a guy like Kenyon Barner stepped up.
So next man up, basically.
Yeah, that's what it is. My thing with Oregon is the defense, and that's where I think the changes from their new head coach are going to start coming in. Because, and also, you got to think play calling. Maybe the new guy, hey, you know what? We're actually going to kick a field goal on 4th down instead of trying to go for it. We're going to take the 3 rather than being greedy.
But 3 is less than 7, Ricky. You can't argue with that logic.
Yeah, but when Stanford stops you, it turns into 0.
All right.
I think that you mentioned something earlier about Oregon, and I guess this is getting into the future a little bit, but the recruiting is the biggest loss with Chip Kelly. And kind of right now, I think for Oregon, I mean, it hasn't been that long since they've been in the national championship. They lost, but they were still there. Is this kind of a win or die season for the Oregon Ducks? I think it is, because things are changing. People are unsure about everything that's going on without Chip Kelly, and maybe you prove everybody wrong to doubt you. But I think they got to win big.
I agree with you. They have to win, but I wouldn't say it's a win or die. It's a season, and Coach Mark Helfrich has a tough kind of road ahead of him, because right now he has recruits that, yes, he's had some time to kind of say to these recruits, hey, you know what, I'm the guy that's in charge. You don't have to go decommitting from Oregon just because Chip Kelly went bye-bye. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Oregon starts to slip a little bit. We see some players going, hey, you know what? I made my decision when Chip Kelly was there. I don't think I want to play anymore for Oregon. I'm going to decommit and go somewhere else.
Exactly. And Mark, you brought up, a former championship game team. Now we see Notre Dame here at 11. Does anybody else think that's a slap in the face to put them so high up in the rankings after watching them get beat down publicly?
Not only did they get beat down by number 1 Alabama again, but I mean, they didn't just lose Manti Te'o, which before the whole fake girlfriend saga was arguably their best defensive player.
Still is.
And they lose Everett Golson for the year. I think that's why I'm not surprised with this out of the top 10, because...
Why do you think they're so... I still think that's too high.
Everett Golson, you think they should be lower?
They've got... Okay, behind Notre Dame in the rankings, they have Florida State at 12 and LSU at 13. If I'm either of those, I'm just like, really? Really? You're putting us behind these guys?
Gives you something to play for. That's what I see.
Notre Dame doesn't even measure up to these teams.
Oh, I'm not saying they do. I'm saying now Florida State and LSU, that's some little extra motivation. Hey, why is this team ahead of me? I'm a little bit biased. If it was up to me, Notre Dame wouldn't be in the top 25 because I hate Notre Dame.
Well, to be fair, I don't think Notre Dame is going to last in the top 25.
They're going to lose to Michigan.
Playing Michigan State. Even Oklahoma's going to be good. They got a lot to look out for very early on. I don't see them lasting that long. They weren't even that good of a team.
I'm calling it right now. That game at Michigan, loss.
Yeah. I mean, they were a team I think that was overrated because of their schedule. It was fairly easy last time. It's the benefits of being an independent.
I could definitely see this team being a 5-loss team. And that's a preseason rank 11. Are you kidding me?
What 5 losses do you have besides, I'm assuming Michigan and USC?
USC, Stanford. I'm pretty sure Oklahoma too. And I think even Michigan State maybe. I mean, it's just like, you shouldn't already have that notion in your head that, well, this team's going to lose a bunch of games, and they're a number 11 in the preseason.
Well, let's put it this way. How much did they at least made it to the national championship, put into this decision?
I think
put
that's
into the votes.
See, and that's the confusing thing. It's like, oh my God, this is the first time Notre Dame has been in the national championship in such a long time. But it's like, wow, you look at them on the field, and it's like looking against a Pee Wee squad versus professionals. And that right there should just let people know, be like, maybe they had the wins to be recognized for a bowl game, but it wasn't even competitive. There should be no way this team is listed so high in the preseason poll after that embarrassing performance at the end of last season.
See, and one of the things I think of, I just want to throw it out there. We talked about Oregon. I think honestly, and you guys can agree with me, disagree with me, I think we should take Oregon, take them out of the top 5, put Texas A&M in there. Texas A&M deserves to be in the top 5 way more than Oregon does.
You would rather have Oregon taken out instead of Stanford?
Yeah, I because I think Stanford's right now. If I'm going Pac-12 preseason rankings, Stanford's my number one Pac-12 team.
Why? Why would you put them above Oregon? Oregon, I mean, I know I was just saying that they're going to start falling off and they got the potential to fall off, but they still do have those great players. They still are the speed team, the team that other teams can't keep up with out on the field.
Exactly. You're going to get into a shootout with Oregon every single week.
Yeah. And I mean, that's probably going to change, but for this season at least, they still have it. At least they should still have it.
True, but I kind of feel like, to me, yes, I did talk well about Oregon, but at the same time, this is going to be the season they kind of fall off a little bit.
Well, we'll see. Any surprise teams in the maybe 12 through 25 slots you guys see?
12 through 25, I would say.
That back half?
USC. I'm kind of surprised that they're even ranked.
Yeah, they lost their quarterback. They lost a top wide receiver. They lost some talent on defense, too. So, what you think it's just a name keeping them up there pretty much at this point?
That's the only thing I can think of, because, I mean, last season for USC wasn't really a good season. Weren't they, if I'm not mistaken, weren't they preseason number one? Matt Barkley was going to, he's the number one quarterback in the draft, and then he's not.
It was just underperforming, and it was kind of sad to watch, too, towards the end, because they had the talent out there to compete against top teams, but they just couldn't put the results out on the field.
Now, if you want to talk about system teams, though, USC is a system team. They're a team that we see their great quarterbacks every year, and they win Heismans, and they can go to the NFL and be drafted high. But when it comes to that, they're not that great of quarterbacks. They take average quarterbacks and make them look good.
By surrounding them with so much talent.
Exactly, and I think that's why USC kind of is left in the top 25, and they're only 24. So it's not that high up there. But they're left there because there's always going to be that potential that USC will just have some guy, doesn't have to be that great, but he can throw the short passes, and he can do what needs to be done so other guys with great talent can move them along the field and score the points.
Yeah, you just need a quarterback who's pretty reasonably accurate. And, I mean, they've got talented tight end. They've got talented wide receivers still. Their offensive line, I still got some pretty good faith in. I wouldn't be too concerned. We noticed with Matt Barkley, his issue was whenever pressure came, he got a little shaky in the backfield. His decision-making wasn't the best. So maybe just watch that offensive line to see if they can keep up for a new quarterback. But honestly, it just comes down to lack of results. And I kind of think it was more of a courtesy thing to put them up there.
And I'm going to throw this out there about USC. And I totally forgot that this kid committed to USC last season. A guy from Joliet Catholic, right from our backyard, Ty Isaac. You have him. Can they re-implement Silas Redd? Because last year, I mean, yeah, Silas Redd had 900 yards, but it wasn't like the season I wanted out of Silas Redd transferring from Penn State.
Yeah, it seemed like they weren't using him to his fullest potential. Maybe it was because, it was a late transfer in. They didn't really have a system to work around him, so he just kind of got put in that fill-in spot and play along their game plan. So, yeah, I would love to see him integrated a little better this year.
But, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see, do they redshirt Ty Isaac? Because this is a kid that I think it was a state title game, 6 rushing touchdowns. He rushed for a school record, 5,305 yards in high school. That's something that USC can be excited for, because look at what happened when they had Reggie Bush in college.
Yeah, I think you should give him the red shirt. I know you don't want to red shirt a guy
You say give him the red shirt?
Talented. Yeah, but what's the point of playing him? You got Red. And Red's obviously going to do better now. And USC isn't the run-heavy team that they used to be. You don't need 2 phenomenal running backs right now. Let this one sit, and you can keep him for 3-4 years.
Well, when you say USC is not the run-heavy team they used to be, well, they lose Woods. They still have Lee. Who's going to step up and be – who needs to step up and be that number 2 guy? Dave, you're the USC guy. Do you have any insight?
At the moment, I don't. That's the thing. I haven't seen a wide receiver step up, because those are giant hands to fill when it comes to filling Robert Woods. And it's just like...
I like the wordplay there. Instead of giant shoes, you got giant hands.
It is. And That's the thing. They had that tandem of probably 2 out of the top 4 wide receivers as far as NCAA football. So you can't ask somebody to come up and immediately fill that spot, but he's definitely going to need some help at wide receiver. I don't have a front runner for you though, not yet.
And to kind of go different conference now, Dave, you asked any surprises 12 through 25. I'm going to throw out 2 teams that are actually in the bottom from, I'm going to say 15 to 25, that I'm kind of keeping a close eye on this season. One is Nebraska, who's 18th. I heard something this offseason that ever since they, even from like the Big 12 into the Big 10, Nebraska the last 4 years have gone to 3 title games and have lost every single one. And I'm talking conference title games. They've lost every single one. They got humiliated by the Wisconsin Badgers last year in the Big 10 title. Yes, should have Ohio State been there?
Absolutely.
Probably, but because of sanctions, they were not in a bowl ban. But you got Nebraska and Northwestern. Northwestern's a team to me where it's like they've always been in the middle of the Big 10, and they want to make that push to be at the top.
And that's the thing. They don't have that giant recruiting flow going into them. They, like you said, they've started to pick it up. They're getting noticed more, and they're having more consistent results with their finishes. So I think this is a program definitely on the upswing. I think within the next 5 to 10 years, this is definitely, 5 years.
And you're talking about Northwestern,
Northwestern,
right? Okay.
yes. I definitely think they're going to be pretty consistently roaming around that 10 slot.
I would disagree with that only because Northwestern, we got to remember who they are. They're an academic school.
They went 10-3 last year. Just throwing it out there.
They always do kind of hover around, and they make it seem like eventually they can't be good, but they're never going to be the team to step up. I think if you're looking, especially we're from Illinois, so if we're going to look for teams to step up in Illinois, it's not going to be Northwestern because they're not going to be able to have the students who can perform. Like, obviously, it's a hard school to get into. People are going to immediately say, it's Northwestern, I'll look somewhere else. You know, because you think of it as the academic school. You don't think of it as a sports-based school. I think you have better luck, to be honest. And I'm a little biased. I'll admit that. But you have better luck.
Biased because you don't really like Northwestern?
No, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm a little biased because I think you would have better luck in the far future having a school like NIU join the Big Ten and be a big school in Illinois than you will have the Northwestern Wildcats.
I'm going to throw out one thing, and this is kind of to combat your having NIU join the Big Ten. Do you know, because I don't know off the top of my head, NIU athletics, or not athletics, academics, because the Big Ten, one of the big things that they like to keep up to par.
They do have a standard.
Is their academics. That's why Maryland and Rutgers joining the Big Ten, 2 schools who have great academics.
I do think that they would probably, honestly, be a little bit on the lower end of it, but they're still going to be able to compete in there. They would still be able to get in, especially, I think, what does Illinois have right now? Not much. I wouldn't be surprised for there to be some push.
You have a Northwestern team that, 10-3. You have an Illinois team that's just pitiful. And then
we don't have a team from Illinois.
And then you have Northern Illinois, who's kind of like the little brother that gets pushed around.
Right now, they're the only one in Illinois that's winning. They're the only ones that are.
Really? I said Northwestern went 10
games.
I just said Northwestern went 10-3, and they're not winning.
They got the most bowl games out of any Illinois school in the recent history.
Yeah, but you got to think Coach Fitzgerald over at Northwestern.
He's doing a good job.
He's starting to bring that program up to.
But the thing, Northwestern's never going to shake the we're an academic school culture that they have. It's going to be impossible for them to shake that.
You have to believe that, like you said, a 10-3 record this past year, and they've been getting better and better. That has to bump up their recruiting. They're going to be getting higher talent coming in, like 4-star recruits, definitely.
But if you're looking for a Big Ten school, I don't think Northwestern is your first thought. I mean, it's not one of the schools that you're really going to be drawn to. In a lot of especially in the kind of Chicago area, there's a lot of schools you can go to. There's a lot of schools
Yeah, but
nearby.
how many schools can you go to play D1 football?
And have a chance of being a top 25 team.
No, but here's the thing about this. Because in the Northwest, within like a 3-hour distance, which isn't that much time, you have multiple schools you can go to that are in the Big Ten.
Like,
and they're going to be better than Northwestern.
so you're saying even going out and maybe going to
You might
Michigan
not
or
be
Ohio?
Yeah, you might not be in Illinois. You can go over. I mean, Ohio State's a little further. Indiana's right there. Not always that great. Obviously, I would put Northwestern above Indiana, but you have other schools there. You can even head over to Iowa. We remember Iowa was good a while, and then they kind of have fallen off. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of options over here. I don't think that Northwestern is the one you want to pick because they are known as that academic school, and I think it's a hard thing for them to shake. They always do well lately. They've been doing well, but they never really show that they're going to be respected among college football.
Well, Dave, you brought up recruiting, and I just wanted to throw out there the last recruiting class, the class of 2013 for Northwestern. They bring in 19 recruits this year, 1 4-star, 17 3-stars, and 1 2 or 1 star. And out of those 19 recruits, you have in a center and a dual style quarterback, both ranked in the top 250 among recruits.
Sounds pretty sweet. Sounds like they're definitely getting talent in the right positions, and that's the most important thing. I mean, you can get talent, and it can be sporadically placed around. Doesn't really help you as much, but you get those key positions, 4-star, 3-star recruits. That's what's going to really elevate this program to the next level.
Well, I'm looking right now, just to throw it out there. Right now in the class of 2014, season hasn't even started yet. Northwestern, 13 hard commitments. I know we have signing day and people go, well, I don't want to play here. I'm going to sign somewhere else. But already, 13 hard commits, 2 top 200 recruits in a all-purpose back and a pro-style quarterback. And both Illinois boys.
It's a good thing to see. I mean, right now, I think if you're in Illinois and you want to stay in Illinois, Northwestern probably has a lot to attract you there. Once this season starts, though, we're going to see what happens because they're going to have to still be good to keep those guys.
Let me throw this. I've been thinking about this question for a while now during this little podcast, and I want to throw it out there. Let's say Ohio State wins the Big Ten leaders because I'm assuming that
It's
they
hard
will.
to argue against that, yeah.
You have Nebraska, Michigan, Northwestern, and the Legends. Which one of those 3 teams do you have playing Ohio State in the Big Ten championship?
That's a tough one, Ricky. I want to lean right now towards... You know what? I'm a fanboy for Northwestern on the show. I'll go ahead and put them up there. Yeah, I'll put Northwestern up there.
So you think it's going to be Ohio State, Northwestern, and Northwestern would get demolished by Ohio State?
I think they put up a little bit of a fight. Give the man some credit.
Because I don't know
I
about...
think they have one of the top coaches in the nation.
Because I don't know about anyone else. I'm calling the shot right now. Ohio State is going to be in the national title game this year. I'm not saying who they're going to play.
Extremely surprising if they didn't make it out of the Big Ten. Pretty close to undefeated. You know, maybe a 1-loss season. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Northwestern coming out of that split.
Mark, what about you?
I would take Nebraska. I think they got... The schedules they're comparable, but Nebraska's not going to play Ohio State in the normal schedule. So that gives them a little bit of an edge because that's an automatic loss.
Definitely.
I don't care who you are. You're going to lose to Ohio State. Ohio State's... They're going crazy right now. So I would put Nebraska just a little bit above Northwestern.
Mark, I'm going to agree with you, and the only reason why is because I cannot wait. And, of course, Big Ten football it's full of surprises, but, I mean, the one thing I can't wait for is at the end of the season, if we have Ohio State versus Nebraska, Ohio State, many people thinking they're going to go to the national title.
Yeah.
Nebraska, can they finally win a conference title game? Can they finally get over the hump? That is what we will see.
I don't think that's going to be the year for them.
No.
And going back to the Northwestern thing last time for me, because I was saying...
Go ahead, fanboy.
I thought that they would do good, but they're going to have to really outperform themselves. Just brought up their schedule.
Let me guess, you looked at their schedule.
It's going to be a tough one, but I still got faith in them.
Who do they got? Tough games. Who do they got?
So they end up going Ohio State, then Wisconsin, back-to-back weeks. And then they have Nebraska, Michigan State. I mean, those 2 short little stretches is going to be rough. But I still think this team has got the talent to win out.
Well, and the last thing, unless you guys have any more little points you want to touch on the top 25, the last team I want to touch on, the Louisville Cardinals. and they're number 9. The reason why I want to touch them is because I feel like I'm going to make this comparison. They are, to me, what Boise State used to be.
Really?
They are that team where it's like no one's going to predict them to win a national title game, but can they win? Yes. They're going to the ACC next year. They'll be in the American Athletic Conference this year, formerly known as the Big East.
Yeah.
They'll move to the ACC. Can they win games? Yes, but will they go to the national title? Probably not. That's why I'm saying they are what Boise State used to be.
Yeah, flipping through their schedule, it's going to be hard to make one of those statement games. So that would, like, if they had, one of these top teams up there, it'd be like, yeah, we took down, a top 25 team, made a statement out there. The whole country sees that. That definitely brings up some props to your team. But with their current schedule as it stands, it's going to be hard to make the case to bring them out into a top-level bowl game, even if they do end up with, a very, very strong season.
Well, I mean, just to kind of give the listeners a perspective, besides the American Conference games that they're playing, the only major non-conference opponent they're playing is Kentucky. And, yeah, Kentucky's going to do better, but Kentucky's not, like, when you say SEC, you think Alabama, South Carolina, Texas A&M. You don't think Kentucky.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking basketball.
Yeah. Wrong sport. Sorry, Kentucky. So we've gone through the entire top 25 now. You think there's some snubs on this? Maybe they should have been up there?
2 teams that kind of jump out to my mind. I don't think they should. The first one I don't think should be in the top 25, but it's a team, Kansas State. They had a good season last year, even though they lost to Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl. I was kind of surprised that they weren't in the top 25, and also Ole Miss. I mean, you bring in the number 1 recruiting class from the class of 2013, and you're not even in the top 25?
Well, it's hard to say that a bunch of freshmen are going to come in and have a massive impact. It's hard to judge the level of impact because not all of them are going to see playing time. And you don't know exactly what you got until you get them on the field competing against other college players.
I think a lot of them are going to see playing time. Those are 2 teams I'm surprised aren't in the top 25.
Ricky, this isn't basketball. The freshmen don't make a difference.
Oh, for Ole Miss? They signed the... No,
yeah,
you're telling me the number
Ole Miss
1...
signed so many guys because they needed to sign so many guys.
They needed to sign those guys, and they're going to fill those holes.
It's going to take a year or 2 to fill those... Or not a year or 2 to fill them, but it's going to take a year or 2 for that all to get
I think Ole Miss
together.
is going to be playing a ton of freshmen this year.
This isn't me in NCAA where I take Ole Miss to 5 national championships,
Hey, man, Hugh Freeze is doing all the things he has to do.
And you got to give out the shout out to the Thundercats. Personally, I think that Baylor, well listed just outside the top 25, I think they were definitely deserving of like 20, that 20 range. You're looking at a team that had a pretty good quarterback, really good running back. They love to air it out on offense. And I'm a little confused on why they're getting snubbed on this one.
See, the thing about Baylor that, I know Nick Florence. I'm not going to say he's a bad quarterback. It's just we had so many quarterbacks last year. You had McCarron at Alabama, Murray at Georgia, Geno Smith at West Virginia in Florence's conference. It's just you had Jordan Lynch at NIU even. There were so many other quarterbacks getting so much national hype that he kind of got just covered over.
Well, I think that's actually an interesting thing because that could lead to him really showing up and making a big deal. 4,000 yards, over 4,300 yards, 33 touchdowns, only 13 interceptions. Those are some good numbers, especially, he's not going to go, I'm not saying he's going to go in the first round. He might not even go in the second round, but this is a guy who can show up for a team and really compete. Maybe he's only going to be back up. Yeah, exactly. He's the guy like that. The guy where you don't take a risk on, but you get him to kind of back up and develop later on.
Plus, I'm going to be really interested to see how Nick Florence does without Terrence Williams.
Yeah, losing your go-to guy at wide receiver, that's going to be rough.
1,800 yards right there from last season to Terrence Williams.
And maybe their top wide receiver this year only has like 1,400 yards. But you know what? They're going to probably split the ball up between a couple guys. They don't have that star talent at wide receiver. but they can lean a little more on the running game after watching the really good results of C-Strong.
See, and I think one thing, I mean, this is what I want to see from Baylor, and this is why I think they're outside the top 25. Last season, they had a string of games. They lose to West Virginia. They lose to TCU, then Texas, then Iowa State. Then they beat Kansas and then lose to Oklahoma. It's those games like the Iowa State, the TCU.
Let's be honest.
You can't have a string of 5 losses.
We're sitting here praising this offense, but it's the defense that needs to pick things up.
True. I didn't say the offense needed to pick things up. I'm just talking
but
like as a team.
That's what we're saying
Yeah.
is we're praising this team for its offensive potential and the fact that they go into these shootouts. Like that West Virginia game, 70 points. You gave up 70 points.
And I mean, you go up against Geno Smith at the time, and that was Geno Smith.
That was like
he
his prime time.
Beginning of the season where people are like, Geno Smith, Heisman.
Yeah, no, he was lighting up at that point. So yeah, I think they definitely have some holes to fill on defense. They need to pick up that play, but I think that this could definitely be a top 25 team at the end of the year.
And Mark, I want to throw something your way. They only received 19 votes. What about Northern Illinois, the Huskies? Why aren't they in the top 25?
One thing I want to say right before we get there is I want to say that Heisman winner Johnny Manziel had a worse passer rating than Nick Florence.
Yeah,
out of
but how
Baylor.
often
He had that primetime moment.
often did Manziel run
Just wanna
more
say-
than Florence?
Had a better than EJ Manuel, same as Matt Barkley. I'm just saying, NFL teams, this is a guy to look for. This is a guy who might show up. I'm not saying he will. He might show up big.
It seems like
In
he
this
would probably end up in
season.
that low risk, high reward category where you
exactly.
could get a steady backup to count on.
And if we're going to talk low risk, high reward, Jordan Lynch obviously is one of those guys. He's a mobile quarterback. I don't think you're going to pick him right away and expect him to be Cam Newton, be RG3 or whoever. I don't even think you're expecting to be Russell Wilson coming out of the third round and just lighting it up.
See, the one thing though I can't stand about ESPN and what they're talking about, it's like they talk about Jordan Lynch, and the only thing they can talk about is, ooh, can he be the first MAC player to win the Heisman? It's like you're kind of making like I hear that, and I feel like you're making a mockery at him, telling him, you know what, you're not going to.
Well, that's the big thing, I think, with ESPN and NIU. We saw it with the Orange Bowl, and everyone was like, this is a joke. They don't deserve to be there. Well, the NCAA is the one that set up the rules. I don't like the NCAA system either, but they set up the rules, and the way it goes down, they qualified. So don't sit there on a thing and say, this is a joke. Everything needs to be changed now. Where just before, like even just last season, people are saying, no, it's fine. We don't need to change it. We don't need a playoff system. I just don't like it because it's a school that ESPN doesn't get anything for. They don't have any benefit for NIU being a successful team because not many people care about NIU. So with that, ESPN doesn't get anything. They don't get anything out of Jordan Lynch because no one's going to care about the first MAC player to win a Heisman.
I think honestly the only game that's going to get the big national hype for Northern Illinois is their week 1 matchup at Iowa. That is going to be, I mean, last year they had the amazing 18-17 loss that I remember watching that game and just going, wow, it was like Northern actually hung in there with a Big Ten school.
Absolutely. And you know that's the thing. We keep saying, you know, when you're comparing Johnny Manziel, he had that one game where he pretty much set himself apart from everybody else.
Bama.
And if Northern could come out and do that right off the bat, I mean, you got to hope that they just make a statement on a national level, and then maybe they stand a chance. Maybe he could go for the Heisman. Maybe he will get some recognition finally, and not as like a joking manner, not as like a put down on the conference.
Yeah, I think especially being week number 1. I mean, that's tough because it's a lot of pressure to start off, and the Heisman campaign for Jordan Lynch has already started for those of you in DeKalb or in the nearby area. But really, I don't think that they should necessarily be in the top 25. And the only reason I say that is because they have been so disrespected by the media. When they've been successful, they still get disrespected. So let them be disrespected and let them have that fuel their fire. But really, they probably should be in the top 25. They got to the Orange Bowl. Yeah, they pretty much got destroyed in the Orange Bowl.
And you got to think, though, that MAC championship game where they beat Kent State
was a
in
great
double
game.
overtime. Kent State was number 17 at the time.
Exactly. I mean, they went up against good teams. When they did it well. They held their own until that bowl game, which, I mean, that was almost like I don't want to call it a men and boys type of situation.
Weren't they dealing with, didn't they have a new head coach at that time?
Exactly. Yeah. They just lost their head coach. Now you got a new guy who's already there, but he's stepping up into a new position. It was an uncomfortable position to be in. He has the whole offseason now. Let's see what he can do.
And, I think as far as the matchups go when they set these bowl games, I think records mean something. But I think the network should really look, or, the creators of this should really look at what would make the best games to watch. And I know, but within reason, because I understand, national championship, you're not going to mess that. That's 1-2, no matter what. But there's some leeway as far as the rest of these bowl games go. And some of these matchups are like you said, the NIU one, it was it wasn't really one you wanted to watch because you knew exactly how it was going to play out.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, when we're talking, and I'm thinking about Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, unless it's for this year, let's say Ohio State goes to the national title game, then the Rose Bowl isn't going to be Pac-12 winner versus Big Ten winner, but most of the time, these bowl games have those tie-ins where it's okay, this team's not in the national title game, so we're doing Pac-12 champion versus Big Ten champion.
I think a big issue with that really is the money that's involved with the NCAA and the way they do everything. Everything's tied to TV deals and everything like that. So you have this issue, and then just look at college basketball in the tournament. Sometimes when they're doing selections, you might look at it and go, that doesn't make perfect sense, but they'll explain it and say, well, it's going to be easier for this team based on where their school is for them to travel here instead of having to travel all the way across the country over there. So, yeah, they might get a little bit lesser of a ranking, but it makes more sense.
See, but I mean, that's a whole different ball game, though, because, I mean, it's a lot more, everybody in basketball is going for a national title. It's not like we're picking, it'd be different if we were picking two teams out of the basketball season and saying, there's your title game. Well, that's what we get in football.
This is why you can't do that. That's why the national title system doesn't work, or not national, the BCS system doesn't work, and that's why it's going to be changed. Although it's not being changed the full amount that it needs to be changed.
It's going to be, yeah, exactly. It will be integrated as it plays out, pretty much. This year it's a couple of teams. Next year, or in 3 more, it'll be more.
They've agreed on a 4-team playoff, right?
Right. That is the current sub, and I guarantee you within the next 5 years it'll be 8 teams. And then it'll be 12, 16. I think they're going to find a happy medium maybe in that 16 team because I don't want to draw a line in the sand, but usually there's a decent level of talent drop-off just visibly from that point. So
and I mean, the one thing, this is the only thing I think about the playoff system, though. The one thing that, I mean, you take from the bowl games, no one cares about, let's say, the Papa John's Bowl or the Hyundai Sun Bowl. But, I mean, do you think there's a way to have those games along with the playoff system just to give a team let's say Baylor. Let's say they're not going to be in the playoff, but still to give those kids that experience of a bowl game.
I think those minor bowls definitely serve a purpose, even if we do expand out the top teams into a playoff bracket system. I think the outer games should definitely have bowls still.
Well, I mean, the way it's set up right now, the playoff games are bowl games. They're going to be bowl games. They're going to be sponsored because money. Mm-hmm. But essentially, that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get if you expand it out to 8. That's what you're going to get if you expand it out to 16. I severely doubt they'll get past 12, to be honest. Okay. And I think 12, it might be stretching it a little bit just because it becomes difficult with, your finals of the actual players. It becomes difficult when you have... They're not going to want to cut down the season. They're not going to want to move it to 10 games or something like that. So that just becomes challenging. And obviously you can't move it further up.
Yeah, but think about this.
Academic schedules.
Think about this. If you go to 12 teams, you can give the first 4 teams a bye and then just do 8 teams with 4 teams getting a bye in the first round.
And I would love to see that. I really would. I mean, I think it's a good way to do it. That way the rankings still matter, even though I think the BCS computer rankings are a little dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give all the good teams a chance. I mean, there's still always going to be the cutoff point where it's, Florida's 13 and they didn't get in, but, Florida State's 12 and they got in. Something like that, where you're going to have issues with that. But there's going to be a line.
And I
like
hope they don't
said.
crumble like the NCAA did for basketball, where you have this play-in games for 68 through 72. It's like, nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody cares.
But I mean, that's different. Like, I hate how they do. Now it's called, like, the first round in Dayton, where before it used to be, okay, here's a crappy playing game for you. Who's going to be the 16th seed to take on the best team in the nation type of thing.
Just slaughtered.
But now to move over into the NFL. And, guys, this is the first weekend. We are no more weekends without football.
Thank you.
No more weekends. The Hall of Fame game going on later on today against the Miami Dolphins and the Tony Romo-less Dallas Cowboys, because he said he is not going to play in the Hall of Fame game. And with our divisional previews, that's the division we're looking at right now, the NFC East. Giants, Cowboys, Redskins, Eagles. I'm going to throw it out to you guys. Do you guys want to talk about the Cowboys in this Hall of Fame game, what you want to expect from them this season, or the Riley Cooper comments for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Let's get the Riley Cooper stuff out of the way so we can just go back to talking football.
What do you guys think of the comments? I'll just throw that out there right now. Made some racial slurs at a Kenny Chesney concert. What did you guys think of him? Should he be kicked off the Eagles?
I think at this point, they need to do something with him, put him away from the team, because they had a team meeting with him there, and people spoke out about it. And camaraderie in the locker room is a big thing. So if you've got somebody who says comments like this, you can't have him around. I'm sorry. There's a personal level of responsibility and maturity expected by players these days, and he definitely crossed the line.
Well, that reminds me, this week I was watching a ton of SportsCenter, and they kept asking Herm Edwards. And Herm Edwards is a guy that I respect the guy. Most of the stuff he says, I agree with. And he was like, well, Chip Kelly's probably going to go to, like, Michael Vick, the leadership, and be like, what do you think? And I'm like, they excused him from team activities. I bet you Chip Kelly went to Michael Vick, said, hey, what do you think? Vick shot Kelly a look and said, I want him off this team.
I think you're giving a lot of credit to Michael Vick on that decision. I
don't think that's the sole reason.
I'm sure Chip Kelly had a very good idea of what he'd like to do. He might have gone in and checked with multiple professionals on this team and been like, hey, I know you're one of the faces of the franchise. This is what I'm thinking of doing. What's your opinion on it? I'm not sure if that would have made a difference one way or the other regardless. I think Chip Kelly and the ownership of the Eagles already had something in place, and, it was going to be dealt with.
Yeah, I think Michael Vick, I think that's a lot of credit to give the guy that we don't even know if he's going to be the quarterback of the team.
He is. I think he's going to be the quarterback
at
least
this year. The
this
fact that they
year.
haven't made it official says something.
Yeah, exactly. But, you're on the right direction, and Herm Edwards, once again, on the right direction. You just go to any of your players and just say, what do you guys think? What are you guys feeling about this? Because if you got enough players speaking out and saying, I'm uncomfortable with
Hasn't
him
Deshaun
playing
Jackson
on the team.
spoken out about
Deshaun
it?
Jackson did, and he made it very clear that he was not looking to have a distraction around the locker room, and I don't want to misquote him, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, exactly. You go to your guys. They don't even have to be all of the top guys, but you go to everybody and just kind of get the general feeling of how they're reacting to it, what they want to do. If they want him gone, get rid of him. There's some other team that will take him, or honestly, you probably just cut the guy. Cut the guy. He's going to sit around for probably a year. It's going to take that long for people to kind of get over it or forget about it.
Yeah.
And then it'll move on. I obviously, it goes without saying that what he said is a horrible thing to say. There's no reason to say it. He was drunk, obviously.
But still, that's not an excuse for using a hateful term. Exactly.
It's still an ignorant comment to make. Just let him be out of the NFL for a year. If the NFL collectively forgives him, some team will sign him. And if there's a public outcry about it, I'm sure that team will get rid of him.
Seeing the first thing I think of is I snap back to, what was it, 2 weeks ago when we talked about Johnny Manziel and the stuff he's been having. I just think if it's any other Joe Schmo says that comment, oh, whatever, it's just some bag being a bag. But because it's an NFL player, I kind of brings up the players nowadays, not all of them, but there's a select few where it's like, you're an NFL player, you have a lot on the line, even if you're not the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Manning's. It's like, are you going to throw away your NFL life, the money that you're even getting a little bit, just for a stupid comment at a Kenny Chesney concert?
NFL players are held to a different standard than college players and then normal people even. I think there's just, the Johnny Manziel comparison is the kid's 20. He's getting drunk
I'm not comparing him
I know.
to
I'm
Johnny
saying
Manziel.
the controversy that was brought up because of Johnny Manziel acting out, obviously in lesser terms, and he didn't make a public statement about it, so it's a bit different there. But it's just expectations are different based on where you are. Not everyone is equal in that terms.
And this is a little bit of there's a difference in the comparison too, but a similar situation because of the Aaron Hernandez situation. The reasoning behind giving those refunds on those jerseys was, we don't want kids to wear those jerseys because their parents might not want them to wear those jerseys. It's the same situation where, obviously, Riley Cooper, he was like a fourth string wide receiver before all injuries and everything, and he got bumped up. But with that being said, you don't want kids to see this guy and idolize this guy as a player and not be aware of, the kind of person he is. And I know that was the way it was when we were growing up. You didn't know that Michael Jordan had a gambling problem.
Or they punched out teammates.
Exactly. But,
Well,
I mean, that's not the kind of world that we live in now.
Well, that even goes
everything.
into, like, I don't know. I think back to my childhood, and it's like, you kind of have that innocence when you're a kid.
But still, I definitely agree with you, Mark, on the fact that, owners don't want you representing their team, their company, in a way that's just publicly embarrassing.
I'm going to point out how you said company, because what's the NFL run like these days?
It is
business.
It is a business. I mean, absolutely. So you don't want somebody who goes out and makes these statements. You don't know what he's going to do next at this point. You don't know, yes, he made a public apology. I shouldn't have said this. I was drunk, out of hand, whatever. But you don't want those type of people representing you as a company, a team. So I completely agree with their stance, and I really do hope that they just end up cutting him, and the guy needs to spend some time away from football and just get his act together.
Well, let's look at the team now. Let's look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll be the first team in the NFC East that we look at. One of the big things around them is Chip Kelly has come out and said, my goal to kind of run the offense is I want to snap the ball every 12 seconds in a game. That's my goal. And the NFL has come out and said, well, you know what? You're not going to do that because our refs are going to make sure that the game is run to the pace that we want it. What are you guys thinking about those comments? A little back and forth. Not really back and forth, but the NFL trying to nudge Chip Kelly a little bit.
I think the NFL oversteps every now and then, and especially we just saw, you're going to get a penalty if you spin the ball now. So, I mean, they overstep, but I think this one is justified. This one is right. There's
why?
The big question.
Why is it right?
There's the big question right now in college football, and we just saw, if you watched ESPN on the media days, they had all sorts of coaches come in, and they asked, especially the Pac-12 coaches, because of Oregon, they asked them the question, is it okay for teams like Oregon to run their kind of offense? Because it's so fast-paced, so athletic, and not all your schools are going to be able to do that. You're going to have people who just get run down, and they can't do that. That's not what football is. That's the question.
What happened to the competitive level?
But the problem is, I think in this situation, the NFL and college football, you see a lot of that. You don't see any of that in the NFL.
Yeah, he's trying to be an innovator. I just don't.
And I get he's trying to be innovative, but
I just feel like the he's trying to innovate the game, and they're just being like, no, you can't do that.
But the problem is, you have 30-year-olds in the NFL that can't run the same that you have 22-year-olds running. They're not going to be able to do the same things.
So you're gonna punish Chip, because Chip Kelly is obviously, you can see it on the team. He's, besides Michael Vick, he's trying to put some more youth.
You're going to get your players killed. You're going to get your players injured out there.
Yeah, but look at the way...
It's a health risk to your players, and they're
it's not
avoiding
just
a
that.
lawsuit.
Look at what he's doing. He's like we said earlier in the podcast about his making sure he's taking that and putting it in the NFL. He has his players sleep monitors. Like, they don't practice unless they get, what was it, like 8 or 9 hours of sleep every day. And has them on diet regimens, and he's basically controlling this aspect to make sure they can run that offense much like he did in Oregon.
And I just think that, the 12-second thing, you can do it if you want to go 18 seconds, if you want to go 20 seconds. I doubt the NFL is going to stop
Not fast enough.
But you
not quick enough.
Do you want the refs like sprinting, pick up the ball, sprint to the center, drop it, and run away? I mean, that's ridiculous. The refs aren't there to that. They're there to manage the game.
I feel like he's trying to innovate. He's trying to do something different.
You've got 60-year-old refs out there, and you want them hustling up and down the field at the pace of a 22-year-old player?
Then get younger refs.
Yeah. What happened last time they tried to get younger refs? I don't know. Maybe they all sucked.
Yeah,
maybe it caused controversies.
Get younger refs. Train them. Train them like regular officials.
How many years?
How many years?
Because it's not like they can pick up the game like that. These guys who are NFL refs have been there for decades.
I'm not saying this is like an easy fix. I'm not saying you go out in there and do that tomorrow. But if that's one,
that's the level of commitment you expect from these refs to be able to sprint at 40 in 8 seconds to drop a football on the line just so Chip Kelly can run a 12-second offense.
The way I see it, if this is how the game's going, if this is the development,
how the game's going, though. That's just one specific coach.
That's like there's 4 teams running the option. Does that mean
look at what happened with the West Coast
dual
offense?
Tight ends.
Not everyone ran the West Coast offense, and then look at it just started to develop. The Wildcat, that was one of the ones that didn't work.
Exactly.
We don't know what's going to happen with this offense, but I feel like he's trying to innovate the game, and the NFL is saying, no, we don't want that.
I think the thing is, it's a safety issue.
I completely agree.
It's a safety issue in college too, but I think when the difference is you got 20-year-olds and you have 30-year-olds, and some players that are up above 30.
And you've got guys who weigh 400 pounds in the NFL.
Yeah, it's not gonna work out. It's not gonna be the same that it is in college. And I applaud Chip Kelly for trying to do it. I really do. I think it's a terrific idea. It's a terrific idea. It's gonna catch teams off guard. Teams are not gonna be able to play the same way because that's how Oregon wins. And
I'm sorry, it's not completely innovating. I mean, we saw this last year in the NFL. The Patriots went no huddle. And they averaged, I want to say, 12 more plays from scrimmage than the NFL average. And that's fine. You can run the hurry up all the time. But I don't want you yelling because refs can't get the ball to the line of scrimmage.
No, I'm not saying
quick enough
that
for your 12-second timer.
I'm not even saying that the refs can't get it quick enough. I'm just saying, why does the NFL have to come out here? It's not that the refs can't get there quick enough. It's that you come out and say, this guy's trying to do something different, and you're coming out here and saying, no, that's not what it's like. Bad dog, roll up the newspaper and hit him in the face.
They're asking to do something that is physically impossible.
To be fair,
the NFL's not even asking.
No,
Chip
Kelly is asking for the NFL to support him in doing something that's not in the best physical interest of the players.
Then you know what?
Game.
You find a way to make it the middle ground.
That's what we're saying. Like 18, 20 seconds, whatever, something more reasonable.
I think a situation that we're going. I mean, it's the same thing as for innovating. You're talking about innovating. You can't decide that, you know what? I don't want offensive linemen. I'm going to have all wide receivers out there. And I'm going to pass. I'm just going to have one center. He's going to hike back. I'm going to be in the shotgun. I'm going to throw to the first guy who's open. You're going to gain yards every time. That's innovative.
Exactly. Who's going to match up with you? Team with 11 DBs?
No. You guys are trying to take this innovative and just satiring.
But I mean, that's kind of the situation here. It's the fact that that's not how the NFL plays. That's not how national football.
I'm sure if you dig through the rule book somewhere, there's something about the average time in between snaps. But the point is, okay, let's think about it from this perspective. The whole point of the hurry-up offense is to keep the defense on the field and tire them out so they can't keep up with you. So you get guys who are out there normally for 2 snaps and they swap out D linemen. You get guys who are in like the 40 yards down the field from the start and they still haven't had a chance to sub out 9 plays later. That's health risks. That's what the NFL sees.
See, I'm just the way, and I do agree with you. There are maybe some health risks here, but I feel like Chip Kelly's trying to do something different. He's trying to change the culture of what's going on, and the NFL is just coming out and saying, no, you can't do that. We don't want that. We want to keep it how it is.
I don't think they're unbudging and allowing him to run a hurry up. I think the fact that he came out and said 12-second offense, that right there, I want 12 seconds in between snaps.
And I mean, this is what you brought up about.
It sounds like an 8-year-old making demands to get a puppy.
I don't think it's 8-year-olds making a demand. That he said he didn't come out and say that's what I want to do. He said that's my goal, is what I want to do. That's my goal. He's not saying to the NFL, you know what, you better let me do this. He just came out and said, that's my goal. I want to run a play every 12 seconds. And the NFL came out and said, no, you're not going to do that.
Exactly. I would just say that for in defense of the NFL, college football doesn't deal with unions. The NFL does.
That's very true.
That the players' union, I don't think they would allow a 12-second offense. They would throw a fit about it. And I mean, I think in this situation, he's saying this is the goal, 12-second offense. The NFL saying no. It's a negotiation. The next thing he does, fine. We'll do 18. We'll do 15. The NFL
something
says
more
no
reasonable.
Again. It just gets pushed back till you find that happy medium. And the thing is, too, they're not saying we're going to penalize you. We're going to test you. Or we're not going to
They're
fine
saying
you.
we're
So
not going to
test it.
support it.
Go ahead and test it.
And I mean, you guys say, like, with all these houseworks, well, the one thing I think of is someone starts running, let's say someone started running this offense on me. The next season, what I'm doing is, okay, maybe my defense was out of shape when I ran this division against this divisional foe twice. I'm going to start making sure my players are maybe more in shape than they were.
But that's our thing. It's not like NFL teams are dragging like slob construction workers off the street, smoking packs of cigarettes.
You got
every
Ocho
day.
Cinco eating double cheeseburgers
And
while
Ocho
running
Cinco
around.
could still outrun every single one of us without a single
I'm
problem.
not saying he couldn't.
He's still a world-class
He's also
athlete.
not in the league. Let's remember, he's not a player.
He's also not in the league.
But he's still Chad Ocho Cinco.
He does not have a job.
These people are they're athletes. It's not like they're slobs, running around.
I didn't say they were slobs. I'm just
But-
saying maybe you work up conditioning a little more. This is what
But
this
there's
is
limits
how
to conditioning.
This is
That's
how
the thing.
This is how the game develops. This is how the game evolves. Because if people
remember a couple
come in
years
and
ago
try
how
to innovate.
everybody was dropping in training camp from health concerns? I mean, not injuries. I mean, like physical health concerns, like the pace, the heat, all that stuff. That all has to be a concern.
I'm not saying you work them like dogs. I'm just
But that's
saying.
no, you are because
No,
they
I'm
have to be able
saying-
to take that conditioning so they can defend against this new full-time
There are safer.
offense.
There are safer ways to bump up
conditioning.
your
Is conditioning. One way or the other, it's still forcing your body to adapt quicker than it's used to, and it's totally possible. I mean, people condition. That's a thing. But during training camps in the middle of the summer, you run into people overheating, exhaustion, passing out.
Then when you do conditioning, you don't do it outside. You do it in the fitness rooms.
Not every team will have
the NFL,
full access to it.
Exactly. If the NFL is going to allow this type of offense, the NFL then should give everybody an indoor facility with full air conditioning, full everything, give everybody top of the line, and make it equal.
Not
in
each
that
camp is
situation.
equal. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something.
Trainers are trainers, but they're not all the same.
And this is something that the NFL has to think about. If someone's going to come in and try to implement an offense like this, well, you know what? We got to start thinking about it. That's what they have to do.
And I'm sure that they
And
are
right
thinking.
now,
yeah, because we saw it last year. Like I said, we saw the same exact thing last year with the Patriots. The only difference is Chip Kelly is making a public statement about his goal of how efficient he wants it to be. The Patriots offense was pretty much ripped out pages from Chip Kelly's notebook at Oregon. That was extremely drawn from. So I think the NFL is already aware of the style of play that he wants to do. That's why they came out with a pretty quick response time and being like, 12 seconds, not going to happen.
well, let's switch over. How many games do they win this year? Where do they finish in the division? The Eagles.
It's rough because you have to count on A, Michael Vick's health, and B,
If he starts,
I like we
because
said,
you guys don't think he's going to start.
we're not going to throw down on paper saying, yeah, it's been said he was going to start, but most likely he will start.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's fine. But will he stay healthy this season? A lot depends on that. And a lot depends on, exactly how well they can implement this offense without one of the top wide receivers. So
And that you're talking about Macklin.
I am because due to injury. And then they're losing Cooper, who I would assume they're losing Cooper due to his comments even though he did help the offense, but it's like, so they're down 2 wide receivers now, regardless of why.
Yeah, but you still got Avant Jackson. They add Aurelius Ben.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Aurelius Ben is a bust.
You have Brent Selleck and Zach Ertz.
I like
Ertz. Picked up in the draft.
I'll give you some credit. They can maybe have fun with 2 tight ends.
And I mean, you got Felix Jones out of the backfield. You got LaShawn McCoy.
Honestly, I see this as a very fragile team. I see them going like 6 wins. And that's not even like a very confident 6.
I think a big thing that they have to watch out for, because if you're going to run not 12-second offense, but whatever second offense.
A hurry-up offense.
Yeah, a hurry-up offense.
A full-time hurry-up.
And you're going to run this very mobile type of thing, Vic gets injured in the 3rd game. All right? Can Foles do it? Can Barkley do it?
We know Dennis Dixon can do it. Are we expecting them to bring up the 4th-string quarterback? I don't know. Chip Kelly could do it.
It's just a thing.
He could be an innovator.
When you have this mobile offense, this very fast-paced offense, who's going to be able to run it if Michael Vick goes down?
I think Barkley can run it. Barkley has he might not run it as effectively as Mariota did at Oregon or Michael, because Michael Vick to me is the kind of project child for this offense that Chip Kelly wants to run. He can throw, he can run. Can he throw as well as he did when he was at Atlanta? No, but he can still
Are you
throw.
kidding me? He is far more accurate than he was in Atlanta.
You think so?
If you look at the stats, completely more. Atlanta, he threw the ball, he whipped the ball straight up, and it kind of fell down in Tony Gonzalez's hands.
But I mean, he's the project child. I think Matt Barkley, there's a reason why Chip Kelly drafted him.
He played against him for a couple of years.
Not just that.
He knows everything there is to know about Matt Barkley. He scouted against him.
You're not going to draft a quarterback unless you think he can run your offense.
Like I said, he's scouted the guy for multiple years. He knows exactly what he's capable of. You're right. He knows what he can and can't do. He knows his limits already, walking in training camp day 1. So I think it was probably a really smart move for him to go out and get somebody like that. The question is, where does that leave Foles in this situation? I think Foles would still get the number 2 spot over Barkley because he had small windows of success during last season. I think you can't just close the door on him because they had a very bad season last year.
You know, honestly, a situation I want to say with these quarterbacks, maybe including Vic, but probably not including Vic. You got Barkley, you got Foles. At least Foles is good trade bait. Get some picks.
Maybe.
Get some picks under your belt and let Chip Kelly do what he can to fill this team with young, athletic players because he knows them well in the college system. He can go and he can draft them.
Think what Pete Carroll did and think what Jim Harbaugh just did. These are college coaches who come into the NFL, and within the next 3 years, they go out and they draft extremely well and improve the team.
Well, because they know the people that they're drafting.
Exactly.
To be honest, I say the Eagles, I don't think they're going to be that much better this year. It's going to have some growing pains.
7 wins.
No. You're going to see some games where it works. Chip Kelly's offense, everything's working perfectly. You're going to have other games where nobody knows what's going on. Because, I mean, it's nothing that these players have ever done before. The only person on this roster who has any clue what's going on is Matt Barkley, and he's going to be sitting on the bench. So unless he's giving coaching advice to everybody else, he's the only one who knows what's happening out there because he's seen it.
And you got to think, too, the defense on this team. We're all talking offense, exciting stuff. Defense, well, they didn't have a top defense last year. They were middle of the pack to end of the pack.
I mean, look at what your coach is. Was Oregon's defense the best defense?
No,
he's an offensive-minded coach.
You can outgun people in NCAA. Like, look at Houston. Is anybody going out and being like, man, Houston's such a good team, they average 60 points a game? No, they don't.
I'm just saying
this is the NFL.
I'm just saying Chip Kelly, more of an offensive guy, so that defense will be a question mark.
Exactly. Defense, that's all I wanted to know.
The biggest, and we're talking about question marks, the biggest question mark in the entire NFL is Chip Kelly's Eagles.
Absolutely.
You don't know.
Because there's so much missed.
Exactly. I mean,
it says so much of what we talked about. That
I can't wait for preseason football. I never thought I'd say that, but I'm excited to see preseason football.
Preseason starts today. Hall of Fame game. Dallas, Miami. Let's move over to Dallas. Tony Romo's not playing in that game. Garrett, you've got Jerry Jones. What are you thinking about the Cowboys? What are they going to do this season? Can they get over the hump?
What's Jerry Jones gonna do this year? That's gonna
I don't
make
know,
you
Jerry. I don't know.
It's just gonna make you hit upside the side of the head and be like, "What are you doing?"
What are you doing?
So here's the thing. Tony Romo in the first round told Jerry Jones, you know what I want? I want a center. Go draft me a center. Draft me this center here who should be taken in like 7, 10 picks from now.
And of course, Jerry Jones did it because he's a crazy old man.
Exactly. This team is not run correctly, and Jerry Jones is running it into the ground, and they say, you know, we need a change of direction. You know what that change of direction is? We're going to give more power to our quarterback. We're going to get him making decisions, and that's exactly what they're doing.
So he can fumble the snap on more field goals.
Oh, that's pretty low.
So they have Tony Romo making decisions now, and Tony Romo says what he wants the offense to do, what he wants the team to do, the directions they want to go in. It's just a mess. It's a mess right now. Tony Romo's not a coach. He's not a GM. Don't let him make decisions.
Jerry Jones is quickly slipping into Al Davis zone.
I was thinking the same. When I said he's a
And
crazy
not
old
good
man.
Al Davis. Like, Al Davis towards the end when he's like...
The 40-time Al Davis?
Yeah, exactly. Is he fast? He is. Draft him.
He runs a 4.340. Sounds like a top 10 pick to me. I don't care that he has hands.
But I mean, with Dallas, yes, I think they do need to give Romo more freedom because it's like he is the face of that offense, even though I don't want to say that because I don't think he's that good of a quarterback.
No, but one way or the other, they attach themselves to Romo. They give him that big contract.
At this point, you have to because of that. And I mean, the Cowboys' success is going to be solely upon Romo's shoulders.
I think it definitely matches up as well with Rob Ryan in that defense. Where it was left off, I mean, come on. This is a defense that it's gotten a little bit better, but still, it severely needs help.
Well, I mean, the names that jump out to me on the defense, Ware and Claiborne. That's it. Maybe Spencer on the right side of that defensive line, but I mean, this defense to me isn't that impressive.
Well, Monty Kiffin, like I said, Monty Kiffin is going to end up using Ware a little bit differently than he's used to. So we're going to see him probably doing some more stand-up, pre-snap, come at things from different angle, maybe have him drop back in coverage, which would be weird. But it could happen. I mean, so I'm going to be really interested, and that's the side of the ball I really want to watch for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well,
is this defense and my boy Claiborne.
All show you've been talking about defense. Oregon defense, Philadelphia defense,
well, they sucked
Dallas
at
defense.
Okay, I'm from Chicago. If I have one thing to be happy about, is our defense.
But one name I will say I left off, Brandon Carr, cornerback. So they got Carr and Claiborne.
That's a really good pair.
And then you have behind him, you have Orlando Scandrick and then B.W. Webb. So those are their backups behind Claiborne and Carr. So really you only have Claiborne and Carr.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Scandrick has blown a whole lot in his short time there. So I like their starting corners. Definitely happy that they finally addressed that massive hole in their backfield. They've got a pretty good front four. So I think that tells us they just really need to find what works for them on this defense.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, offensively, though, I mean, Romo, you still got Des Bryant out there. You got Miles Austin. The thing, though, that I want to see how it plays out is, of course, DeMarco Murray is going to be your starter, but how many touches is the rookie Joseph Randle going to get? Because when he was at Oklahoma State, he made some huge statements.
I don't know. This team, they kind of confuse me. They got talent. They don't have a ton of it, but they got some good talent. Tony Romo shows up every now and then he disappears for a while. It just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. This team doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
They're like the Angels in the MLB. They have they've got the big name. They've got the contracts. They've got the money spent. Where's the results?
And the one thing I'm thinking, was it that Jason Garrett said that he was going to, is it him not calling more plays, or is he going to be calling more plays for Dallas? I couldn't remember which way it went.
Well, I would assume since they're giving Tony Romo more power, Tony Romo will have power to call plays. Not all plays, but I think he'll have some power to make
more
decisions
freedom, definitely.
up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the wrong decision. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's an excellent game manager, but I just don't see it.
I
I've
haven't
never
seen
it so far.
Peyton Manning out of him, no.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they're a team where I think them and Philadelphia, they kind of compete for the bottom of this division only because of the fact that you don't know what you're going to see out of Chip Kelly's team. And the Cowboys, you never really know. They're always kind of a average team. Sometimes they do better than others.
Well, I mean, and this is kind of maybe moving ahead a little bit. You say we don't know what to expect out of Philadelphia, but what can we expect out of Robert Griffin this year? He's coming back really, really soon.
He's still
from
limping
an
badly
ACL injury.
without that knee brace on.
Well, he's not going to play in the preseason.
Right.
He said he'll be ready by the season opener, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's going to be a good one for him to go because he's going to be against Chip Kelly's team. So that'll be fun to watch.
It's a punching bag.
But I mean, let's say just by when the season starts, you say Philadelphia, Dallas are question marks. What about Robert Griffin? How is he going to perform?
Doesn't matter. They got Kirk Cousins back there.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I
They
mean,
have
That's
a
the
competent
confidence
backup.
of having a good backup.
And they have a competent backup who can run the system fairly well because we've seen him do it.
In very high-pressure games at that.
I mean, we haven't seen Foles or Barkley run Chip Kelly's system. Maybe they can do it just as well as Cousins can run the Redskins offense.
and I mean, of course, this next question kind of depends on how, because like we said, the question mark with the Eagles is how their offense is going to work in the NFL.
Correct.
With all these question marks, you say Philly, you don't think Philly and Dallas are going to be at the bottom. We don't know if Robert Griffin's going to be well. If Kirk Cousins,
I think Dallas is a solid 8-8 team.
does all these questions basically say to the Giants that if they play really well, they're going to win this
It's
division?
your job not to this up.
Yeah.
And that seems like the Giants every year, doesn't it?
I mean, yes and no. The thing about the Giants, they are one of the most inconsistent, successful teams
Defending
in the NFL.
I almost said defending Super Bowl champions. I forgot that
Not
was 2
this
years
time.
ago.
Yeah. And that was the year
but
that
they messed
halfway
up.
through the season,
Yep.
it looked like their coach was going to get fired.
Well, both Super Bowls, wasn't
Exactly.
it?
They're such an inconsistent team, and they have Eli Manning as their quarterback, as an inconsistent, successful quarterback.
And then just paid up for the salsa dancer.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't. This whole division, to be honest, is one big. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, basically, it's. Well, I would say flip a coin, but you don't have enough. Flip 2 coins and then see which one you're going to get. But basically, it's just a crapshoot. Who knows which teams are going to show up? And yes, the Redskins have everything they need to win. But so do the Cowboys. So do the Giants.
Because of how you said it's a crapshoot, can we even say how many teams are going to be in the playoffs? Can we make that prediction at this point?
I don't think we can. I think this is one where you really. This is probably the only wait and see division. Although I will say the NFC North is pretty wait and see.
But in a different way.
Yes, it's because they're good teams.
It's
except for
because
the Detroit Lions.
Well, I mean,
No,
but
even Detroit, on paper, should
on
be
paper,
able
they
to
have
put
it.
up a fight. But let's keep it within this division.
Yeah.
Okay? So, going back to Dallas, I said 8-8. What do you got, Ricky?
I got to look at their schedule. I got to pull it up. I'm at the Giants
Mark,
schedule right now.
what do you-
I have them around the same area that I have the Eagles in the fact that they could win 4 games. They could win 7 or 8 games.
I honestly
I'm
think
gonna
this
say
whole division
I'll
is
say
going to...
7 or 8.
I think this whole division is going to be within 6 and 9 games winners. There's going to be very little separation.
Most likely wins with 9 games.
Maybe
10 if Robert Griffin comes back and just
one of the
dominates.
things that I feel like in my gut, I feel like it's going to happen. I feel like that Week 17 matchup in the Meadowlands between Washington and New York is going to be for the division because it seems like this division, one of those divisional games at the end.
Definitely.
Usually it's Giants Cowboys is for the playoffs and for the division.
The fun thing about this is you got Washington versus Dallas just before it.
Exactly.
So you could have a 3-headed race going on to see who's going to win it, and it could come down to Dallas sitting at home thinking, if Washington wins, we go in. If the Giants win, we stay home.
And you have to go back, when it comes to Washington, Shanahan has done an amazing job with this team as far as bringing in the right personnel to fit his system. And I think I really trust in his decision-making when it comes to the time when we see RG3 this season. I've been watching a little bit of the training camp videos they've been releasing, and even some of the reporters on the field were like, yeah, the first day RG3 just happened to come out without a knee brace on. He left in the locker room or whatever. And coaches quickly minded him to go get that put on because he was visibly limping without that knee brace on. So I think the fact that he comes out and says publicly, I'm good to go day one, is just a flat out
lie.
Yeah,
Robert
absolutely.
Griffin III to me is stupid. I'm going to throw that word out there because, with how much he means to this franchise, I know it probably, the AP thing kind of feeds in a little bit where it's like, well, if he came back so soon, why can't I? But you got to think of something. AP had an extra 3 weeks? He injured that in week 17, not in the...
Week 19.
Yeah. No, he had an additional 2 weeks to work on that, whereas, RG3...
Okay, a week give or take here and there, who cares? But I'm talking, I don't think RG3 will be starting week 1 even.
No, I don't either. I think that this season, if I'm RG3, I know that I have the talent to play in this league. Why? I wouldn't even be mad if RG3 pulled a D Rose this season.
No, I think that's unacceptable, first off.
Yeah, there you go. For RG3, I would not sit out this whole entire season. And one reason why, you've got somebody back there who can take your job from you.
Exactly. I think that's probably what caused the statement to happen was we like we said, we saw what Kirk Cousins could do under pressure. He's a competent quarterback. He handles the offense. I think we could probably return RG3 in between weeks 2 and 4.
So either you're healthy and get your job taken away, or you risk further injury and you keep the job for a little bit.
He's going to risk further injury because he plays the game in such an aggressive manner.
And doesn't slide.
And he doesn't play smart. I don't want to call him stupid, but
he'll learn how to slide.
Hey, Dave, I already did. I
know,
called him
that's
stupid.
Guys, he learned how to slide when he destroyed his leg. He knows how to slide now.
Just because he destroyed his leg doesn't mean he's going to start sliding.
Yeah, let's be honest here. Have you seen some of the slides these quarterbacks do these days? It's not pretty.
Look at the Tom Brady. I'm gonna protect myself. Let me throw my leg up there.
He threw out spikes like Ty Cobb style into some guy's gut. Sliding's it's not a science, but it's not exactly easy.
I'm playing next week.
I think that the Redskins probably, if I was going to pick a favorite, it would be them. Only because I think Kirk Cousins can do a damn good job, and Kirk Cousins is competing for a spot somewhere else at the same time.
But are you forgetting about, Alfred Morris came out last year and was an absolute monster.
Oh, I'm not saying
they had a two-headed giant in the backfield.
I'm not saying that Washington is a walkover. I'm just saying, they
had a two-headed giant in the backfield.
They did.
That made the option work.
They did have the number one rushing offense in the league, averaging 100. Or they had 169 yards per game.
Absolutely absurd talent, and you got some talent at wide receiver. So I'm still pretty high on this team. Even if RG3 isn't back week 1, I think we'll see him relatively soon in the season. And
You said 2 to 4 weeks.
I think week 2 to 4 is where I like to see him coming back. I don't have the schedule up in front of me right now to give you an exact, but
the one thing about the whole RG3 is not even just about the injury, but it's he comes out and make comments. His dad comes out and make comments. It's the one thing I just want to see from RG3 is shut the hell up.
See, and that's
just shut up.
You know what's interesting about that? I think there's an absolute just a drop. I don't want to say drop. An extremely high difference in maturity level as far as these young quarterbacks. I look over at Russell Wilson in Seattle, and I think he is probably one of the smartest, most, I don't want to say grown up, but he's aged beyond his age kind of thing. He has that certain sort of way of carrying himself that doesn't look like a 23-year-old kid.
Yeah, and
to me, RG3 makes these statements like you said.
I think it's a changing of the guard that we've seen. When Tom Brady came out of college, did he have these issues? Did Peyton Manning have them? Did even Eli Manning? Even Phillip Rivers?
Tom Brady was when he got out of college.
Yeah, let's be honest. Nobody gave a shit.
No, I know. But I'm saying, these quarterbacks that are great now, did they have those problems coming out of college?
The guy right before Peyton
Twitter
Manning
wasn't
did.
invented.
Yeah, the guy right before Peyton Manning.
There was no Twitter back then. They're not posting pictures on Instagram. It's a whole different animal.
Social media.
It
age.
is.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
You have, and this is college, but it feeds into what we're talking about. Look at the guy from Alabama. Him and his friends on Instagram fan out what was it?
$1,000 probably.
$1,000 in hundreds, and then he deletes it right away. But then you got all these Alabama fans saying, "Oh yeah, I know why you went to or Auburn fans saying, well, I know why you went to Alabama because they paid you."
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. There's just a different level of self-awareness required in this day and age. There's no privacy.
And we're talking about young quarterbacks. What about Johnny Manziel? Might come out next year.
And it's hilarious to watch what every expert and experts versus talent scouts. Talent scouts like, this kid has the potential to be a top quarterback in the NFL, but there's his maturity level. And you've got all of these people saying, oh my God, based off of what he's done publicly in the last month, he's completely destroyed his credibility. He's destroyed his public image. He'll be lucky if someone takes him in the 3rd round. And we're talking about, and I think that's completely related to the Aaron Hernandez impact of, this is a guy who has questionable issues as far as personality.
Aaron Hernandez made it almost impossible for, even if you have, like you said, questionable behavior, it's like a death
little bit of
sentence
doubt.
now. Yep.
A little bit of doubt, and nobody wants to attach themselves to your name.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Not everyone's going to be the Andrew Lucks of the league.
Yeah, not everybody's going to come out scot-free.
Or the Tim Tebows.
Oh, God. Yeah, that worked out real well. That's the other end of the scale. But, yeah, that's the thing. I think just quarterbacks these days have to prepare, just players in general. Quarterbacks, because they're under the most spotlight in today's game.
Because they're the leader of the offense.
Exactly, the way things have come out. But yeah, I just want to see players. I like the way Russell Wilson handles himself, and I wish more younger players would look towards him as an example of how to do so. Andrew Luck, same exact way. But on the other end, you've got Cam Newton and RG3.
I would say if we're comparing Cam Newton to RG3, I mean, Cam Newton, I'm not going to say the most mature,
He's
but
more mature.
at least he knows the way I'm going to make money is to stay on the field, so I'm not going to be I'm going to actually slide.
Well, no, but I mean, as far as maturity level on and off the field, he makes some public comments. He talks to the local newspapers maybe too much.
Yeah, but I think he's getting better than he was.
Well, yeah, definitely with age comes experience. But like I said, some of the young guys already have that. And then you got Tannehill, who just hides behind his hot wife. I had to throw that in there because he's a rookie.
Wife.
He is a rookie.
Tannehill's wife.
No more. He's not a rookie no more. Getting to that sophomore season right now.
Yep.
But I want to ask
It's sophomore slump.
2 questions really quick because I think this is such a questionable, and we didn't really talk about the Giants that much, but I mean, we're kind of at the point where we don't really, there's not that much to talk about.
They lost their running back.
I like their defense, though.
They lost a lot on offense.
They lost a little bit on defense, too. I think David Wilson,
That's their running back.
He's explosive, but can you count on the guy
to
keep the ball safe? And that's... I think they're going to walk around, have him hold the football for all of training camps, and just random people are just going to try to walk by and pop it out.
I mean,
that's how I would train David Wilson.
That they did that for? Just like 2 seasons ago,
I
they
can't
did that
remember.
for
I remember hearing that story. That's why I bring it up.
I mean, you look at this defense, you have Pierre-Paul, monster, Tuck on the other side, monster, Webster in the backfield, Amaka.
Oh, I have no... Personally, I think
Kamara,
their defense...
Prince, I'm screwing up his name.
Kamara.
You have Roll is your free
is
safety.
Amazing, and I still love the NASCAR package.
The NASCAR package.
I am
God.
obsessed with the NASCAR package.
Watching that in
because
action is beautiful.
It is incredible. I think the defense will be fine.
And I know you say that they lost a lot on offense, but as long as you have Cruz, Manning, Nix, you're fine. Cruz, Manning, Nix, you're fine.
Yeah, but
you lost your safety blanket.
Yeah, you do lose the safety blanket. Thank you very much. But you have these guys who didn't produce as well last season as they did just a couple seasons ago.
I think the Giants could win this division just because of,
it's either them or the
like
Washington
we said,
Redskins.
It depends with the Redskins how RG3 comes back and what he does.
I got
when
a 3-way
he comes
race. I still am not ready to count out Dallas Cowboys with all the talent under their belt.
I just want to say
back. But Jerry,
2 questions.
that's what I'm thinking.
Jerry Jones. 2 questions. Do either of these any of these teams have a new quarterback next year or a new coach next year?
That's rough. I'm pretty sure.
No, maybe Dallas. I don't think.
I think quarterback. I don't know, because if Vic gets hurt again and somebody stands up and proves themselves, what's gonna happen?
Okay. By new quarterback, I was thinking like either
I meant
signing
on the
a free.
roster.
Okay,
I mean,
I was thinking off
they
the
have
roster.
No, a new starting quarterback.
You can have on. No, my thought was a new quarterback in general, on the roster or off the roster. So you were half right.
Because I'm going to speak from coaches. I think the only coach that could get fired at the end of this year is Garrett.
Yeah, I think Jason Garrett runs the highest risk.
Because I don't think New York's going to fire Coughlin, but
you don't know.
Yeah. They've been close.
Every year
Maybe that's what they need to do is they need to threaten Coughlin with his job again about week 3, week 4, so make another Super Bowl run.
To be honest, I don't expect this duo to be together by the end of Eli Manning's career. I think he probably will have a new coach because how many times can a guy be threatened of being run out of the town before it actually happens?
Somewhere down the line, he's not going to win that Super Bowl.
Exactly. He's not going to be able to save his job every damn time. Otherwise, I mean, Eli Manning's going to end up with 5 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah. And it seems like the attachment between Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett maybe thinning.
I think, honestly, the thing about Dallas, though, is I feel like everything is stuck. Jason Garrett's the first one out.
What about Romo? Does Romo go after Garrett?
They paid him too much.
Yeah, true. I forgot about the new contract.
If you get a new coach in there, and I think no coach...
It's a Band-Aid.
Who's going to want to go to Dallas? I mean, you got the name. You got
college
a lot of talent.
Coach.
Possibly, but then that's the situation because you don't have somebody who will stand up and say, nope, Tony Romo's not going to be my quarterback. Jerry Jones, you sit your ass down, you give me the money, and I'll run
It depends.
this team.
If it's a college coach, like, I bet you if Jim Harbaugh, when he came out of Stanford, if he went to the Cowboys, he wouldn't be taking any lip from
He
Romo.
wouldn't go to the Cowboys. Because he would deal with Jerry Jones.
No, I'm not saying...
No, that's why I don't think anybody would want to go work for him.
Just because of Jones?
Because of Jerry Jones. He's is
not
the problem
give you
with
any
Dallas.
Power. He said he will not give up any power.
He is, like you said, it's a roadblock in Dallas, and it's all signs point to Jerry Jones. And until he's gone, or until he gives up some of that power, I can't see this team making that next step.
And they're not going to get rid of Tony Romo. There's too much money invested in him. Jason Garrett's the first one out, but I think it's like Dave just said, it's a Band-Aid.
Well, that's going to do it this week for the podcast. It is a great, great day because football's here. Football's here
and
to
Tom Brady's
stay.
birthday.
And it's Tom Brady's birthday.
Happy birthday, Tom.
Mark, you want to sing happy birthday to Tom?
I think I do want to sing happy birthday to Tom Brady.
Go ahead, take it away.
Tom Brady, I know you're listening, so let me sing this one out to the heavens for you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, my best quarterback, Tom Brady. Happy birthday to you, buddy.
Don't forget to tip your waitresses. Come back next week. You've been listening to The Onside Kick on our YouTube channel or on Fansided Radio. Goodbye, everybody.